back to a new episode of Rambling Teatime. This is Chris and Kim.
Hello.
Kim, happy birthday. Well, a couple days after your birthday, but happy birthday.
You're just gonna call me out like that?
Yes, she's older now.
I mean, I don't feel it, but
Or do you
great.
feel, you know how there's people used to be like, do you feel wiser now that you've grown a whole year, had a whole year at experiences and whatnot?
I really don't like how people think that just because it's your birthday, you're smarter and wiser. I would hope that I know more things. I think that throughout the year, you'd more,
Yeah, I
as a
know.
person, as a human, hopefully you would learn more things. It doesn't matter that it's my birthday. It's all like, yes, I'm enlightened now. It's like, no.
But you had a good birthday though?
Why are you asking me these
I'm
questions?
just asking.
The birthday was fine.
Okay.
Did not feel like anything changed. Yes.
Okay. Moving on to our lovely tea this evening. What is this? I don't think we've had it on the show yet, but we've both enjoyed and tried it many times.
Yes. We're both having Bigelow. I love lemon.
Very basic tea for like, I mean, lemon and lime teas aren't that hard to make by yourself at all.
Right.
But I like this. It's pretty good.
I
It's
like it too. I like how the lemon comes
yes.
through. That's exactly what it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
just lemon.
Mm.
And I appreciate that it tastes like lemon.
And doesn't taste artificial in any way.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't taste like fake lemon.
Yeah.
You know? Like if you get a candy and you're like, oh my God, like I can taste the chemicals that were added in, like whatever glycerin and whatever. You know, get what I'm saying, right? But
Yes.
this I can see it tastes like lemon.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste disgusting
It
either.
doesn't taste like the artificial flavor of lemon or whatever.
Exactly. It tastes natural. I like that.
I mean, I can make myself my own lemon tea, but I don't mind.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it too.
Nothing too amazing. Good tea
It
overall.
doesn't, at least it doesn't taste like a lie,
Yes, that is
you know?
true. It's like some of the other fruity teas taste like claim to taste like something, but they
They
really
aren't.
don't.
Yeah,
It's too artificial for my taste.
yeah.
But yeah, this does a good job.
Agreed.
Now, Kim,
Yes.
I was inspired by remember that episode you did a while back about superstitions? I took from that and I wanted to go and do something with magic. And then I went and researched stuff about magic and
Hmm.
realized how much stuff it was actually is and very complicated for something. Too much text.
Yeah.
It's just way too much, and there's a lot of really technical, historical stuff that talks about magic and religion and how religions and folk. Too much,
Yeah, I would
too much.
expect that.
Okay,
It's
and
too
the
vast a
yes,
subject.
and then the history of multiple places and where their practices and folk cultures and the history of why they do so and so, it's way too much.
Hmm.
So I decided to narrow it down for myself and just focus in on magic practitioners and a few unknown, maybe like magic cultures or different types of magic ideas from different
Okay.
places. I tried not to focus on the ones that were very common that most people know about, like stuff like witches, because I'll get into that stuff about other types of witches, but I
Okay,
didn't focus
okay.
on witches. Then talk about Salem. When you say witch or magic, usually it conjures an idea in the mind of like
Right.
a witch in a hat or a warlock in a coat and covering the face, that type of stuff. It's kind of basic entry level stuff. So I decided to just grab some that people know,
Hmm.
some that I didn't know anything about, and just go from there. It wasn't as many as I cut down a few because I ended up writing my own thesis on different magic histories and stuff
Okay.
connected to one another. It was too much. It was just a little too much. Okay. So we're gonna start with something very, very simple that most people know. It's voodoo in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
It's an African diasporic religion that developed in Haiti between the 16th and 19th centuries, which is often seen as a practice involving magic. Voodoo is also one of the official religions of Haiti, and it's practiced by about 8 million people.
Okay, I didn't want to cut you off, but voodoo is a religion?
Yes,
Okay.
it's straight up a religion and has magical practices. Most practitioners are in Haiti. Okay? It's not just about, like how we see it in movies and stuff, like cursing people or raising the dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about, it's based on like everything has a spirit and humans exist to serve spirits through rites and prayers. Okay?
Okay, I
uh
have
so
questions about that.
okay, ask a question.
You mean inanimate things have spirits as well? Because
mm,
I believe that. Personally, I.
well, I wasn't sure about that as well, but as far as I know, yes, they kind of mean like everything has a spirit, especially things that are alive have
Mm-hmm.
spirits, and you need to pray to those spirits, offer up rites and whatnot, and with dancing or divination, performing like eating, drinking, that type of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's this really like special like you know how Islam has their trek to Mecca?
Okay.
In Haiti is this place called Souvenance. I think I'm saying it, let me correct. It's a festival that's held around Easter, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of where voodoo people come from all across Haiti and even the world, those who practice it. And it's a meeting point. This is like a small little village that's like a special place in Haiti. Okay?
Really?
Yeah.
It's okay, so there's a pilgrimage
Yeah.
kind of
It's kind
thing.
of, well, not a
Oh.
pilgrimage, but yeah, kind of. It's really interesting, and there's like a whole bunch of different pictures and stuff to show you like how people are doing like the practicing and stuff. It happens every year.
Oh, okay, so it's like a conference, but it's a
Not,
pilgrimage to the conference, a
it's a
retreat,
pilgrimage to
conference retreat.
the Souvenance. If I remember correctly, it's kind of like a holy site. Then, okay,
Okay.
it's a small little village, but it's important to the history and of the religion in Haiti.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all the different rites and rituals that they carry on during the days or so of the actual festival and whatnot. It's pretty cool. I didn't know about this at all. I didn't know
I
that.
definitely don't know anything about this.
Yeah. So yeah, and voodoo, like a lot of the like the magic and stuff that you see in movies and stuff like that is technically in like voodoo and whatnot, but it's more about using the spirits, and humans exist to serve the spirits and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot and help and having like spiritual possession, and they enter like trance like states and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it developed and it's often seen as a type of magic, but at the same time, it's also considered a religion.
I really did not know that.
Yeah, very
Wow.
interesting. There's a way more stuff about it, but just keeping the brief and giving the interesting points about stuff like this. On to somewhere else that I have no complete stuff, but I want to do more history on
Mm-hmm.
is Mangkukulam. It is from the Philippines. And kulam is a type of Filipino witchcraft.
Kulam.
Kulam. It is practiced by witches and or sorcerers, and they're called Mangkukulam. Okay,
Okay.
they perform black magic. Mangkukulam utilizes certain methods similar to voodoo, like potions and casting spells and incantations, either to do harm or to bring good, depending on what type of spell it is.
Okay.
Mangkukulam is a from ancient Tagalog beliefs. It is a mixture of Christianity and folk beliefs, and the Tagalog are one of the largest ethnic groups that reside in the Philippines, especially in Luzon. This I had more information on this, but it got into more like historical context of like where it came from and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
There's also some people who do not like to associate with the Mangkukulam because they see some of them as
As what?
scaring or whatever. Because which in certain in a lot of we've seen a lot of these witch cultures, witches or whatever, medicine men and whatnot. They're seen to have power, and they're respected for because they have power. So
But they're
people
feared as well.
exactly. So they're feared as well, and the actual information I was reading, the researcher who was going about up to the Philippines and stuff said that some people did not want to come with him because of where he was going and who he was going to be talking to, because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want to like get associated with them. Not
Uh,
like because they hated them, or it was more like they were fearful that they didn't want like maybe a spell cast on them or whatnot. So yeah,
I mean, they wouldn't just cast a spell on you.
I
They
know,
aren't
but
vicious, I don't
exactly. They
think.
aren't vicious, and because many of them are used like medicine people in their like villages and
Exactly.
whatnot, but people still keep them at arm's length.
But you know what? I think it is because how they've been portrayed.
And also the power that they claim to have as well.
Exactly.
So you
The
don't
fact
really
that it can do harm as well
exactly.
is
You
what
don't want to piss
really.
off the witch next door, to be quite honest.
I would not piss off the witch next door.
Okay. Now this is something that everybody, well, a lot of people know about. Japan fox witches. Okay? Or kitsune. Yeah?
Kitsune.
Foxes play an important role in Japanese folklore and as well as like stories of witchcraft. Fox witches are kitsune or separated into two types.
Mm-hmm.
There's the kitsune mochi. They are individuals who bribe the foxes with food and then make a deal with the animal, in which they get magical powers and granted for return for food or care. Right? The magic from these foxes is normally seen as bad because that means that once they get the humans get it and they normally use it for evil.
Yeah.
Right? So the Kitsune Mochi are considered evil and they use it for like possession, and the foxes will possess people, most of the time women, most of these things are always women, and inflict various ailments, or they would have fits and they'll be shouting and running naked, frothing, yelping, similar to a fox, or or just be hungry for food traditionally preferred by foxes. This is extremely common throughout East Asia. The idea of not just fox witches, but women witches that were like crossed with animal types and
Okay.
always being evil. But on vice versa, there's the Suji. There are families that have the control over powerful foxes. The foxes provide like their powers, luck, and prosperity only if they're taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And the families as a whole normally pass down the whole like thing to generational lines and whatnot. I've seen both these things portrayed in anime and manga and video games. It's like extremely common for me, like whole thought switch idea or
Mm-hmm.
thought switches. But yeah, apparently this is still some families still practice
I was
and
gonna
have control
say
over like
there are there are different things that are passed down as well. You know, because
yes,
they say that there's so many different things that could reside in a home, different things that bring
uh,
prosperity.
like
Some
these.
things, there's a dog. There's so many different like
There's
creatures and
also
stuff.
things like the Zakashi Warashi. It's kind of
Yours,
like
I
this.
know what
You
you're
know what I'm
saying.
talking about,
It is
right?
Warashi at the end,
Warashi.
but what is it?
It's
Zarashi Warashi or something?
Zaki. I can think, but those are also like house spirits as
Right,
well. That if the house is kept well, they develop and they stay and protect your home.
right, right.
That they also like stay and like pass down from generation to generation. There's also the Sukugomo, sorry. That's when like a inanimate object gains a spirit after like 1,000 or so years or
I
100 years.
personally believe that inanimate objects have spirits.
Really?
Yeah.
So like this table here, if I beat the crap out of it, it'll haunt me.
Okay, so that I don't know how to explain it, and I don't know when I started believing it, but I know that I've believed it for years.
Oh, okay. So all the
Probably back to when I was like really young as a kid, and I still believe it today.
this is why you treat all your stuff with care, just in
I
case.
try to. There's a thing that I do. It's not
Okay.
a ceremony, I wouldn't call it, but something that I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
When I have a pen
Okay.
and I have been using that pen for such a long time and all the ink runs out or the mechanism stops working in the pen or whatever the case is, I have to throw it away if I can't put back the ink inside of the thing.
Okay.
Even if I take out the ink part or I throw away the spring or whatever it is, I'll say thank you to it. A little like small thank you ceremony, thank you for,
Your
serving me.
service?
Yes, thank you for serving me so well, during this period. And it's
Okay.
our time to part now, and then I'll throw it away.
I did not know this about you at
I know you
all.
don't know because I've never told anyone that I do that. But that's why I'm always telling you to be nice to your
I know.
computer
Well, I'm always nice to
or
my
the
tech,
phone or
so
stuff like that, things like that.
because you never know, it might just stop working one day. Yeah.
Exactly. I think these things have minds of their own.
Respect your things, Kimberly says, or not, they'll just stop.
Yeah. Anyway, what's next?
We are going to North America and we're going to be talking about the Navajo skinwalker, also known as the Yinaldolsi. I don't know if that's the correct way of saying it. I'm reading the spelling.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how to say it because I couldn't find anything at the time of how to actually say it at all. It is a harmful witch who has the ability to possess or disguise themselves as an animal. The term is never used for healers or medicine men or women.
It's
Okay,
just disguising.
it's kind of like a shapeshifter or like a skin changer. Yeah, or like I said, skinwalker. They just use it to disguise themselves. The name Yi Naldosi, it translates by means of it goes on all fours. So it's like it turns into an animal most of the time.
A dog, a cat, a
Yes,
bear.
yes, yes. Anything like that. Traditional Navajo people are reluctant to talk about skinwalker lore or to discuss it among those that they don't trust.
Hmm.
I've seen a few excerpts about this. It's just stuff that normies don't need to know or to understand in a way. I know we've seen type of stuff in like movies and whatnot, but they just don't discuss it really. It's kind of like you don't talk about bad bullshit type of thing. You
Is
don't
it
spread it.
bad though?
Well, in Navajo culture, they consider witches and like skinwalkers. They represent the antithesis of Navajo culture values. So like, well, healers and medicine men or women are considered good and positive, and they're treated well in the community. Witches are seen as completely evil, and they're twisting the same type of like magic and ceremonies that they learned, because all healers have to learn both about good or evil magic in Navajo
Hmm.
culture. And those the only way you become a witch is if you choose to corrupt yourself and become bad, or to just like go the wayward path. Um this is a story from something that I read years ago on, I don't think it was Reddit, but Navajo man, because at the time he was a kid, he was talking about how he was on a reservation, and he was going to a party with friends. It was like
Hmm.
Friday, and they were just going to relax. So they remember going to the party, and he was like talking to a friend about how he heard something about some weird creature or something walking around, and his grandfather and mother were telling him to be more careful,
Hmm.
if anything happened, to be wary. And seeing as how he was coming out in this modern age, he was like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care about that type of thing. Whatever, grand, I'll be safe. So he goes to the party and he's having friends. His friends, they all feel good. And then they all hear a screeching noise, right?
Okay.
Over the music that they had playing. And they all don't know what it is. And they hear stuff like running around in the back or whatnot. So, like, him and another guy, they go and check, and they don't see anything. And then they hear somebody shout from like the front house, if I'm understanding the story right. And somebody's like, they grabbed her, they grabbed her, they grabbed her, right?
Who
So
grabs who?
The way how it was described, he said that one girl at the front who had opened the door and something grabbed her and pulled her out through the front door. So all of them were freaking out now in the house. They don't know if it's a prank or whatever, but somebody pulled her out. And when they go outside, she's like already like a whole bunch of feet just like down the way, like just laying down on the ground. So they're like, we need to leave, we need to leave, we need to leave. So they all like run, and he's making sure that everybody's leaving the place or whatever to get home, get in cars and whatnot. There's only like a few of them,
Hmm.
and he says that when he was running, he looked back and he saw like this. Not I don't even know how to describe it, but he saw it like this black creature, but like a hunched over lady or whatnot. And he says that he never really believed in a lot of the stories that he learned about different creatures and stuff in the Reddit. But that from that moment on, he just completely just like freaked out about that stuff.
Wow.
And I don't know if like take everything you see on the internet for like with like a grain of salt, but he seemed pretty convinced that he wasn't drunk and they all saw and experienced something weird that night,
Yeah.
and it has stuck with him since he was like a teen. So yeah, yeah, the skinwalker nearly got him. They don't know what happened to the girl. They don't know how she ended up like 100 feet away from the cabin. They don't
Why
know.
did it just leave her?
I don't know, dude. I guess it was trying to scare them, and
And
apparently
the person who screamed, it got her, it got her. What did they see? We
they
need to hear their
just she
story.
opened the door. Well, I don't know. He's in the back. She opened the door to see what, because they heard the noise, and they just want to see if that it might be somebody else trying to mess with them, right? And then something just like grabbed her out the door, and the door shut like with her. So she like opened the door, peeked out, and then something like grabbed her by her shoulders and just pulled her out the door.
Could it be a Wendigo?
I don't know, maybe, but they didn't. She just got like a little banged up from what I remember the story. I'm remembering the story. I'm trying to not like add any extra. I just remember that she got grabbed and pulled, but nobody got hurt.
I see. She wasn't consumed.
Yes, she wasn't consumed, Kimberly.
Okay.
Okay, this is a sticking to the Americas. Going down to Chile. Kalku and Machi. This one is pretty simple. Mapuche people of Chile believe that Kalku is an evil sorceress who exists in opposition to Mapuche spiritual leaders and medicine women known as Machi. Both are women and both are in some regard related to witches.
Hmm.
Kalku is responsible for black magic and is seen as a mystical figure, while Machi is a religious leader or shaman or healer of ailments. It's kind of
It's
it's
similar.
kind of like their own version of like yin and yang type of, you know how all these things, it's always
Basically,
like
it's just
the dark side and
Kalku's
the
the
light.
ones who decided to do evil,
Yes,
and
Machi.
Machi's the ones who decided to do good.
Exactly. A lot of cultures have something like this, and
Yeah.
they always tend to be women, or mostly apparently.
I know.
Don't worry, there's stuff about dudes here too,
There's
but
also
yeah.
something I want to say. How is evil and good magic separated?
Very
What is
simple.
considered evil
Evil is
magic,
most of the
black
time
magic?
considered that you're using it to do some type of harm in any way. Like, sure, okay, you're a medicine woman, right? And you know about poisons and stuff, and you know how to cure ailments and stuff, right?
Okay.
But then you use that same knowledge to do harm. That's you doing black magic
That's
in a
that's
sense.
what that is.
In a way, yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. For
I
some,
thought you were going to say something else,
there's
but
other things to do with like cursing people or like casting certain spells on people to like hurt them, cause their relationships to go bad, cause them to get ill and slowly die because it doesn't look as obvious as a curse was on somebody if they get sick and then they slowly start to die, or you poison some of them. Chinese seem to really have liked that too. I'll get to them as later.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, here in Chile they have their own type of like in well the Mapuche people have their own type of black magic, white magic.
I
Okay,
see.
I didn't get as much as on them that as I wanted. So here we are now going across the sea
Mm-hmm.
into South Africa and to talk about witch doctors.
They call me the witch doctor
Okay, stop.
from a land afar,
I
specialize in
can
Obeah.
get to Obeah later.
Okay, what is this in South Africa?
Okay, native to the Zulu people, witch doctors are seen as healers who are divided into two categories: the Inyanga and
Mm-hmm.
the Isangoma.
Mm-hmm.
The Inyanga are not dissimilar from like modern herbalists and practitioners of natural medicine, and the Isangoma are called to their profession by divine powers and perform tasks like predicting the future, using their psychic abilities to protect against evil. Isangoma kind of are like spiritual leaders in communities.
Mm-hmm.
They use trance and musical rites to communicate with your ancestors, and both are respected within their community, and they're often consulted for like problems with health to spiritual. So here the witch doctors, they're the two branches. They're those who just clearly take care of your health and use whatever,
Physical health.
yes, whatever physical thing. And then there's another where they take care of your spiritual health.
I
There isn't
see.
like any like
Evil
there
or
isn't anything. I
anything.
didn't really see a lot about that about evil because these are considered like legitimate professions that you can pursue and whatnot, and you have to
Oh,
learn.
okay.
And it takes years to become either one of them, or you have to
Mm-hmm.
learn and pass down traditions and learn stuff like that. So yeah, you either are in Yanga, or the probably far more common understanding that people would get like herbalists and whatever. Some of them are actually more or like modern day like doctors. They go to school and stuff like that,
Right, right.
right? And well, and the in Sangoma are more of the magicy side type of ritual style type of thing, but they're more or less like spiritual leaders of their
Right.
community.
And they, okay, so the Inyanga don't have psychic abilities.
I don't think so. They're more like they take care of the medicine, take care of you, and that type of stuff, as far as
Okay,
I'm aware.
I see.
So yeah, the witch doctors here, and legitimately where the term kind of occasionally come from is not they're not bad. They're hardly witches at all, to be quite honest.
So, do you have the witch doctor with the Obeah hair?
The song that you're talking about from years
Yeah.
ago. Oh no, we'll get to Obeah later. Calm down.
I'm saying, are these two things not linked? The witch doctor and Obeah.
We'll get there. Okay. Ghana witch camps.
Yes, because
Yes.
is it school or something?
No. Ghana witch camps were established over like 100 years ago, and there were places where witches, or those who thought to have been witches, were sent to live with other witches and kept.
So it wasn't school.
It was not school. It
Oh.
was those who were being used as scapegoats for tragedies like famine or sickness and
I see.
death.
So they would blame someone in the
Yes,
village and say that this person is the reason why
yes,
we don't have any pigs
yes. So unlike
and send
like
them away.
in America or Europe, where they would just burn the witch to death,
Uh-huh.
they actually just sent them to a camp, and the camps still existed up till about 2014, 2015, where six of them got shut down in Ghana. And there's still apparently some in the northern regions of Ghana. Yeah, they still existed up to that
I don't
recently.
doubt that this goes on. In small villages, in like in the country, maybe
Yeah,
in some place, there are people in the world who still believe that they need to sacrifice what? It has to be a virgin girl, Christopher, to
Uh-huh,
some god or some demon in some cave up on some mountain
uh-huh.
for the village to have rain.
Yeah,
So this, I can believe
yeah.
that.
But I'm actually
It's
surprised that they.
insane.
I'm actually just surprised that of all the witch type situations, they didn't just kill them. Or just
Yeah.
like, or well, I mean, there were the witch trials in America and whatnot, and those
So what did they do at the camps?
it's pretty
Did they
much.
learn to hone their witch
No, they
nest
just
or
lived
something?
there. It's just kind of like a place. The only reason why they were really shut down is because this didn't have like necessities, like electricity and running water. That's truly it. They're just like living in squalor and being blamed for things that apparently they didn't that because they're witches.
Okay, so what happened to them after these camps were shut down?
Well, they're apparently trying to incorporate them back into their like home, like their communities and whatnot. But people were saying that it's kind of the opposite in that because the camps are gone, they have nowhere to go, and their communities
Don't want
might
them.
not accept them
Yeah.
back. And there were also like there were like 1,000 women and like almost 500 children living alongside their mothers and whatever in camps and whatnot. They had no opportunities to like get education or whatnot. So yeah, like if you were sent in and then you had a daughter, your daughter would stay there. And
How
if your
would you have
daughter
a
had a
daughter?
like no, if you had a kid before you were condemned to being a witch, your daughter would probably get sent with you, and she would stay there with you.
You know what this is? This is all just a scheme so that they will have less mouths to feed in those villages, you know. That's what it always is. They're all like, we're gonna send you away because you're the witch that caused the drought, right? But it's basically them getting there with like the head of the village and they're
Hmm.
like, hey, chief, we really running low on provisions this month. You know, we gotta send somebody away.
The witch trials that happened in Salem and across like Europe, in some cases, people were blamed and called said they were witches because other people wanted their land.
Yeah, people
They
are
wanted them.
so conniving and
It's
horrible.
always
It's always
comes back to
greed
greed and
and hate.
hysteria and hysteria and whatnot. But yeah, yeah, Ghana witch camps. Leaving Africa and traveling across back to the sea, but this time to the Caribbean, the West Indies,
Hmm.
let's talk about Obeah. Now, this
Yeah.
is something that we grew up knowing about being
Hmm.
from the West Indies ourselves. It's not that we know anybody who practices it, but Obeah has always been that thing that you hear that they can cast a spell on you or whatever, that type of thing. It is a folk magic religion hybrid. Obeah originally came up during the slave trade as a form of resistance. Dark magic spells used to make predictions, gain knowledge, or obtain assistance for any tasks. The reason why those are very specific is because it's kind of like was used so that slaves could find out stuff about slave masters and other places and things like that.
Hmm.
Kind of like used for like
I was just gonna say
spy.
espionage or something.
Not really espionage, but it's more like to find out secret information, that type of thing.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't. It's not really a religion in the sense. There's not a lot of like rituals or ceremonies. There's both male and female practitioners, and it's more seen like spiritual guides that can help with a whole bunch of problems or whatnot. The magic started in West Africa, and it's found across like multiple farms and whatnot in the Caribbean. Like for example, Haiti we talked about. The most well-known type of obeah is voodoo.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has a. It's mostly considered sinister, but at the same time, it's used for like your own personal benefit, and you could buy charms to do stuff like that. I There's not a lot really about Obeah because Obeah in itself kind of covers. It's kind of like the top covers all of the different magical type things that happen in the Caribbean. It
Hmm.
isn't just one specific thing. It's more like You know, they say that she practiced Obeah. That's where she get all she marks right on that test. That type of stuff.
Oh,
Okay? It's
what
more of
about spying on people through animals?
and that's yeah, I don't know about that. But I know about you it's all about finding out information that you shouldn't know. So yeah, Obeah. Very common.
What about astral traveling?
I did not look into that. I had a thing about it, but I decided not to go into it at all because it was too much headache to understand. Not understand, but to explain.
I guess we'll leave that for the physics episode.
Kim, physics is technically our magic system. You're gonna jump all the way from the Caribbean over into Slavic areas or Baltic areas, and we're gonna talk about Vedmak. In Slavic mythology, a Vedmak is a warlock or male witch,
Hmm.
while the female equivalent is a Vedma. But unlike the latter, a Vedmak might contain positive qualities about them. For example, they treat people and animals, but on the other hand, they're considered to be connected to evil and are capable of bringing harm and sending illnesses and killing cattle and spoiling harvests. The word is also used as an insult, and Vedmak can also turn into animals or any object. So you see, these are the superpowered witches. They have all the abilities. They can be good or bad, and they can also transform into animals or objects. The reason why I also brought this up is because under the influence of the Witcher fantasy saga, Andrzej Sapkowski uses the term Vedmak to also it's also rendered as the as Witcher in the English readings of some in some contexts. The word
Mm.
used for Witcher in the original Polish version of the novels Wiech was coined by Sapkowski himself, where the word Wiedźmak is used in the books only as a derogatory term for witches. There is a certain changing of the language and twisting of it, and the reason why I originally found this was because I know that you completed the Witcher show not too long ago.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the term there. So if you want to call someone a Witcher, you could say they're a Vedmak or a Vikmak to insult them, whatnot.
Well, I wouldn't insult a witcher. From what I've seen, it's not a smart thing to
It
do.
is not a smart thing to
Plus,
do.
I liked Witcher, so
I know you
I
did.
have no reasons to insult.
Okay.
What's next?
This we're still staying in Slavic mythology, this time Eastern Slavic mythology, and this is Zagovery. Oh boy. It is a verbal folk magic. Users of Zagovery can enchant objects or people. It is old as hell. And years later, it kind of became Christianized with the rise of Christianity in that area, and a mixture of its elements also got mixed into that. But it originally started as pagan prayers and incantations,
Hmm.
and it was also one of those it believed in the power of the human word. What was said and how it was said was super important, and especially the pronunciation of the words was extremely important, whether you whispered them or you sung them, as well as the people observing the rites of the actual practitioner. And as a result, the person who was the reformer of the rites had to give off a certain amount of life energy or stamina. They have to appear to be healthy then, right?
Okay.
So example of this is that a Zagovery practitioner should have a full set of teeth because
Okay.
they have to have a full set of teeth, or they have to have a knife that is a symbolic substitute for teeth that were missing. Because it focuses, like I said, the magic is all about how things are said and how they were brought across, and it's all about speaking there. And having a full set of teeth means that you're healthy and you can carry on the rites and cast the spells, or you can or speak the word.
I have a
It's a
question.
very interesting type of magic thing.
They can enchant objects
Yes.
or people. What
Yes.
about animals?
I didn't see anything about animals. But if we lean on the idea that everything is an object and animals are objects, then I assume, then yes, they could probably enchant animals.
Okay, I don't think animals are objects.
I
They'll
meant
probably
like in the
fall into
basic sense,
people
or
if you're going with that logic.
but people are objects too. We're all objects, Kimberly. We're all atoms at the basic fundamental
Okay.
level.
Great. So can this Zag
Zagovery.
yes. Can this be used for evil? Or is this more
I
like
I didn't really see a lot about it, about being evil. A lot of the history of the actual, seeing as how it's a pagan religion and whatnot, a lot of history of it is them combining with like Christianity in a way to survive instead of being like outcasted and whatnot. They have even their own like mythology and other things to do. They didn't go dive super hard in it,
mhm.
but a lot of the history is about when Christianity was coming and they were considered to be pagans or wrong, with them going underground in a sense, and then combining a lot of their beliefs in with Christianity, so that if found, it would just seem like just a weird Christian like practice or whatever. Like they have a whole song that's Zagovery right, but the way how it seems that it's just an off-brand Christian prayer, but it isn't.
Okay.
So it's all about like they're staying under the surface at the time, but still having their own cult, own like practices and whatnot. Because around that time when Christianity was rising, if you everybody's a heretic, that type of
Yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah.
So that's how they survive and how it's still kind of around today, but not really that prominent.
I see.
Yeah, jumping all the way from wherever we were in the Slavic lands,
Hmm.
we're heading to Egypt. And we're going to talk about Heka. Heka was the deification of magic and medicine in ancient Egypt. The name is the ancient word for magic in quotation marks.
Okay.
The Old Kingdom pyramid texts depict Heka itself, the actual idea of Heka, as a spiritual energy that gods possess. Okay? Heka is the energy, magic energy that gods possess. Pharaohs need to devour gods in order to gain this magical power. This is one of the old things that they were supposed to. The cannibal pharaohs that was called needed to devour other gods to gain this magical power.
I
Just
don't.
I know I don't either.
Okay.
Okay. Eventually, Heka itself was elevated to being a deity. So, and then a cult was devoted to following him. So,
But it was
but
magic.
it is, yeah. Okay, I have something here about Egyptologist Ogun Golet explaining that magic in the Book of the Dead is problematic is because the text uses so many different words that correspond to magic, and the way how Egyptians thought of magic, that it was a legitimate belief, it was a god, right? But at the same
Okay.
time, Heka is magic, but also at the same time, Heka is used by the gods, but he was it's really strange, okay? Because there's multiple old texts where Heka was just magic. Then
Uh-huh.
later on, it became that Heka was a god. Then later on, it's like Heka was created by Atom, sorry, another god. Therefore, he wasn't. He was the god of magic, but he wasn't magic. But he still is magic. It's very confusing. Never mind.
I got it. So Atom created Heka,
But that's
and
only
Heka is
later
the god
of
of
magic.
magic, but
Yes,
he isn't made of
he
magic.
is magic. Heka is magic. He is all the magic that the gods use. I might be getting this confused, but Heka is the idea, is magic in
Heka is
itself.
magic and the god of magic.
Yes, that all the other gods use. Magic. It's so
You know, if I
weird.
saw this in television show, I'd be confused for a moment, and then I say,
Kim,
I'm gonna buy it for now until it gets too confusing, and then there are holes.
you don't like, man. Like, trust me, Egyptian god stories will make an amazing story because there's just so much weird shit going on there. Like a lot of weird crap with penises and. I read too much stuff about this. It's just weird. Okay, the
Okay,
Egyptian gods were weird, along with the
please move on.
yes. But I was trying to get to this point. Heka magic is also another thing that deals with the speech and the word and how you say things.
Uh-huh.
Just like how like Zagovery from before.
Yeah.
It's all about you know how even the Bible has that line, power and light life and what is
Life and death
life?
are in the power of the tongue.
Yes. That essentially is Heka magic all over. It's all about saying things, having power, and using the words to bend and do things to people
I
or your life.
see.
That's what I understand exactly. But yeah, Heka. It was heck
Okay,
of a
Heka.
lot of work to actually figure out some of the stuff about this.
Yeah, seems like it.
And we go from Egypt and we travel across the the desert sands or whatever through the Middle East onto the what is called we just go to China. We're just going to China.
Okay,
We're going
okay.
to China. Wu is a Chinese term that translates to either shaman or sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, practitioners of Chinese shamanism or Wuism, shaman is the common translated word for the Chinese Wu, but it might actually be more of a spirit medium or a spirit intermediary to describe them better.
Okay.
Okay? Wu were both men or women, and sometimes shamans seem to have occupied as priests at shrines
Mm-hmm.
or for local deities. Shamans were also employed the same way as witch doctors for like other cultures, and they had a lot of like healing arts and developed from them. A lot of like that Chinese medicine came from the
Yeah, yeah.
original Wu. There's actually a really interesting thing where the Wu, the word for Wu, and the word for Yi, which is also a type of doctor, come together, come Wu Yi, which is a witch doctor, which is a completely different thing from a Wu, which is a shaman. But they're all kind of in the same circle.
What's a Wu Yi then?
Wu Yi is a witch doctor.
That does what though?
They kind of do the same thing as a Wu, but Wu themselves aren't just witch doctors. That's why I said that it shouldn't just be considered a shaman or sorcerer. They should be considered a spirit medium because what
Okay.
a Wu does is that they use the spirit intermediary or whatever to do things. They can use the spirits to help and heal people. That's where those are the Wu Yi, those are the witch doctors. They're also the Wu who also like assist in court and help like the in different court places and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And like here, Wu anciently served as intermediaries with nature spirits and were believed to control rainfall and flooding and whatnot. Unfortunately, if during a drought, they would perform a Yu sacrificial rain dance ceremony, right? If they failed, and it didn't rain, they would get burned. They would burn alongside with a cripple. I do not know why a cripple had to be burned alongside the Wu if they failed.
I think I know why.
Why?
I'm not sure if this is what they believe, but there's some cultures way back that believed when a person was born deformed or in that like,
Mm-hmm.
that it was because a demon was possessing
Well,
them.
yeah, yeah. There's also the Wu Yi and whatnot. Also, because like that the same thing you just mentioned about how possession would cause illness. The
Mm-hmm.
Wu were used to help like take
Exorcism.
exercise like spirits out
Yeah.
of people and things like that, so as to because they're not just shamans, they're spirit intermediaries, so they're supposed to help take the spirits out or get rid of bad spirits or spirits, and if they can't make the rainfall, they'll die.
Great, I guess.
So yeah, this is just a small amount of, I guess, magical practitioners and magical beliefs and whatnot that have existed and not really practiced super much. Some of them are still common, some
Yeah,
are
I still
still,
hear about shamans all the
yeah, you
time.
still do, but it depends on the actual type of shaman and what they do and whatnot and where. Because in my research, I found that the term shaman is all
It's widely
is
used for
yes,
covering a lot of things.
it's too much of a basic word to use
Yeah.
even here because shaman here for Wu itself is more for like the witch doctor Wu, which is a Wu Yi, not the spirit, just the basic spirit medium or spirit intermediary.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm actually I read so much stuff about this, like there was there I really appreciate those people who have come before me and have actually done this research over hundreds
But
of
you
years.
have fun, didn't you?
Yeah, but you could tell that those people did themselves were confused because there's like different addendums and things from like years ago. It's like
Uh-huh.
about the stories about hell. Wu themselves have also been considered like people who help with dreams, and then there's a whole bunch of paragraphs about why didn't he just get rid of the spirit that was haunting the guy? Like that was one of the questions. Like from like
Ah.
this is 100 years later after the original story about
Uh-huh.
Wu and Zhou, and now this is 100 years later, and we're still asking the same question because the guy in 1657 was like, "Why didn't Wu just get rid of the spirit that was haunting the guy?"
For real, since they can do
Because all
that.
he did, because the story is just that all the Wu did was just translate the story, even though he should have like apparently helped with this.
Maybe the woo wasn't a real woo because they're fake.
There's
They're
stuff
all of these
about
people who are
how
practitioners, they're fake. Lots of them, you know?
depends. There's a stuff about how there was some Wu who were fake, but they were still. It was weird. It's like they were fake, but at the same time they were accurate and they were actually still good.
Okay, I don't get it.
No, there's no. You're talking about there was like some fake people, but there was
Yeah.
actually some stuff about who Wu who were fake, but at the same time they were still good as doctors. But they
What
were
kind of
no,
doctors?
like medical doctors, they knew a whole bunch of stuff, but their like predictions and stuff were just terrible.
Right.
So they were considered they were like fake, but still they were like consistent woo. It's weird. Too much. There's so much stuff about woos
Anyhow,
in
I think I
Chinese
understand why
history.
the earlier one is divided to the ones who do deal with the medicine
Yes,
and the ones who deal with like spiritual
I think you've. I think
you
you
know.
realize that throughout most of these that I've chosen, there's always that. There's always the one who's considered either good or bad, or the far more magical and spiritual one
Yeah.
versus the one who uses like medical thing. Or
Yeah,
in most,
natural
but in
medicine and
most
stuff.
cases, they're one and the same, and they came from the same place. It's kind of like how witches in same like Europe and whatnot were just women who knew or men who knew stuff about nature and they knew
Exactly.
what things would
Exactly.
heal and stuff. They knew how to use poisons and what would cause so and so. So when your stupid kid goes running and run past some poisonous plant and you none of the doctors in town know why they're sick now and they have a fever, but the lady who lived out in the forest for for like 70
Exactly.
years and grew up learning about all the different plants that her grandmother or whatever, and then she takes care of your kid, and then because she's the only one who knew about that plant, she's brandished as a witch, and then she's killed.
That's the thing. Because of a lot of
Ignorance,
ignorance
people
and
not know.
sexism.
You'll be
Because
funny.
women, women
Uh-huh.
were not allowed to be doctors.
For a while. But at the same time, it was I know a lot of like witches and they say there's a lot of women and the ones that, but a lot of men actually were condemned for being witches as well. Like a lot of dudes got.
A lot more women though, Chris.
I don't know. It's very sketchy. Definitely in America, it's definitely a lot of women got blamed. Heck, the first woman to actually be tried as a witch apparently might have been mis identified because A, there were two women who had the same last name, and both of them were married to the same man with the same name. in like a village across. So even though they were both like claimed one was a witch, it might have been the other, but at the same time they both probably weren't witches. And back then you didn't really have quick information, and it was just people spreading whatever rumors or lies they want to spread about you. Something else, Kim. Something else. And
In any
then I
case,
didn't
did you
focus.
have fun?
I had fun. I didn't focus on any modern day like Wicca or like
Mm-hmm.
things that or whatnot like that because I didn't want to focus on new agey stuff that has.
Yeah.
There's so much new agey stuff that it doesn't come across as, I don't want to say earnest or truthful or whatnot, because some of these people that practice all this old stuff still just scamming people. But sometimes it just come across as so like
Pretentious?
pretentious and shitty and boring. It's just kind of like, oh, you have a bunch of yellow crystals on your desk. Okay,
Oh, the crystals.
I guess your chi is over 500. I don't give a crap about that. I wanted something that where you actually know about people who actually practicing this stuff or older history of where these things come from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I prefer that type of like understanding of why do people believe this, how these things came about, and where they're going. I don't really care too much about. I know that a lot of like there's like Wicca stuff and witches now and things like that that actually practice and whatnot, but I couldn't remove my bias that all of it is super nonsense to like this age of time and whatnot. But whatever's. I'll probably do something about modern day magic, and it
Will you?
probably focus and talk about like how Aleister Crowley shaped a lot of the ideas that are still around today based on his books and his like writings and whatnot. But yeah, it was fun doing all this research, and it was interesting because
It
it's
was
something that I was
interesting for
always
me
wanted
too.
to do.
Some of the things I knew, but some of them, well.
Yeah, I tried to find. I
Actually,
already
most
said
of
that.
them I didn't know.
Yeah, I tried to find like little bits of things that some people might know, some things you don't know, things that are not as well known. I wish I had done more, maybe probably about chill like South America and all that type of thing. But there's a lot of stuff that isn't super well known. I could have probably gone a little bit more into West Indies and things, but I wanted to just like dot the map of the world, just
Mm-hmm.
bum bum bum, few things all over the place, and avoid the most obvious ones.
It was good.
I'm glad you thought that. And I'm glad that you've listened to us so far, our dear viewers or listeners or whatever.
Both.
Both. Let us know what you think in any of the comment sections, and we'll see you guys next time.
Good night, everyone.